Today, just talking about a couple things Rona related. I caught this story on the news several days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, and you can see here, based on the date of this article, it was the 25th. This ties into what I'm going to talk about in the second part. I'm just going to talk about this in brief though. So the first part, we're going to talk about passports, vaccine passports. Next part, we're going to talk about Israel and kind of what they're doing, how they've been able to get a lot of people vaccinated, and how they're looking forward and opening things up, but also involving a passport. So I'm just going to read one of the paragraphs here. Europe's vaccine passports are getting closer. EU leaders will likely agree today, this was the 25th of February, on continuing preparations for vaccine certificates, but not on their use. So kind of the basic framework of it, they're getting it moving, and it's been talked about a lot. I've heard other YouTubers talking about it here as if it's something that would happen. Now, most of you are watching this in the United States, perhaps in Canada. So North America, would something like this come here? That's the question that we need to think about. The bloc's tourism-dependent economies, which suffered the steepest contractions last year, are aghast at the lack of urgency by some of their peers and are determined to open their doors to people who have been inoculated. But others resist such moves, citing a lack of convincing evidence that those who get the jab won't still be contagious. In any case, leaders will unanimously declare today that lockdowns must continue and non-essential travel must remain restricted for the time being. Still, some will find themselves in the spotlight for going too far by essentially imposing blanket bans that disrupt the EU's single market. I'm going to put a little bit more here up on the screen. You can read through that. But that's what they were talking about on the news when I saw it last week. They were saying, hey, you have these businesses, tourism related in a lot of countries specifically, that they haven't been able to survive or barely have been able to survive. So they want to reopen. So they're actually seemingly driving this thing forward. They're saying, hey, please, we'll do whatever you want. We'll do whatever you want. Just allow us to reopen. Oh, bend us over? Require us to get some kind of special paperwork? Sure, no problem. Just let us reopen. But yet, here's the thing, and this is like we see in the United States, the resistance to it. We hear a lot of this rhetoric from that moron Fauci. Oh, well, even when people get the vaccine, you still have to wear a mask, you still have to socially distance. So the level of fear over the flu, you can't describe it. Let me back this up and say this. When I see a person out alone walking along the beach wearing a mask, he's so far away from everyone. When I see somebody in a car alone wearing a mask, for some people, sure. If you've got conditions to where you're highly at risk, then do what you got to do. But these people I'm seeing do this, wearing masks, these are young people. I'm seeing double masks occasionally. The level of fear that was put into people for 4, 5, 6 months, this is where you get these kind of things. My arm, twist my arm behind my back. Whatever you want, government. I'll do whatever you want, just so I can open back up. But then even with that, with people willing to do those things, you still have that resistance. Those people that have been so beaten down, the ones I'm just referencing, wearing the double mask. Oh no, even when we get the shot, there's no guarantee that it's going to work. Oh, well, you might need another shot. You might need a third shot. Well, what about the new strains? So it just goes to show that even when you're willing to play ball, moving the goalposts, they say, because there's people out there, and it doesn't even have to be government. There's people out there that have been whipped so badly and trained that they're not going to let it happen. The reality of vaccine passports. Israel is roaring back to life after world-beating jab drive. So why isn't everyone celebrating? Oh, congratulations. You'd think that they're ready to throw everything open. Israel has vaccinated half of its population of 9 million people against COVID. People who have received 2 vaccinations are entitled to a passport. Oh, so you're entitled to it. Something special. Or like When I was a kid and we're talking first, second, third grade, you would have, say, your multiplication table and you would test on it. And they would have the chart in school back when achievement was expected. And every time you would get your, 1 times 1s, 1 times 2s, you get a little sticker. Or the same would be true of spelling class or things like that. You get a little sticker put up there. And it was always like a little bit of a competition with your classmates. You're entitled to a passport. This is being sold as if it's some kind of special thing, like that sticker I used to get when I get my 6 times tables memorized. Interesting how they are selling that or marketing that. The green passport entitles them to go to bars, restaurants, and theaters. There is a new rule at Meir Elbaz's synagogue near Tel Aviv. Only people who can produce a green pass, Israel's new COVID passport, may cross the threshold. If you don't have one of the highly prized passes, you are relegated to the courtyard and forced to listen to prayers through the open windows. Seems like there might be some kind of, think about the US, right? Like how we always hear about how black people, they like to sprinkle in some brown people every now and then, but they like to say that black people are disproportionately not getting the vaccination. And then they talk about the isms, but then they also talk about class-based, monetary. So they always say, oh, we've got to find a way to get the most vulnerable or the people who, and this is what they say, well, they don't have access. They don't know how to go online. Isn't that what Biden was saying? They don't know how to go online and find out where to get the shot. Are you telling me that you think lesser of some ethnicities, Biden? And these were his words. This was last week or so where he was saying this stuff. So I can see a situation here where they might talk about a class divide as well. Now, I don't know the population of Israel. It would seem to be a thing where it would be more economically based, caste system. Whereas here, they like to make it racial. How long before the poor Jews rise up? Start printing out fake green passports. It's a harsh rule to impose, but it's a reality for good reason. And ultimately, it's the kind of approach that will allow Israel to quickly return to normal, said Elbaz, a 29-year-old logistics manager. Last week was the carnival-themed Jewish holiday of Purim, when the whole congregation traditionally attends prayers in fancy dress. It's the highlight of the calendar for children, and the place is normally filled with youngsters dressed as princes, princesses, superheroes, and animals. Sounds great. It's fun. Sounds like a Halloween with a religious tone to it. Given a once-a-year right to make as much noise as they like. That's great for a kid, right? That sounds fun. But only adults can get green passes, and it's hard to hear prayers from the courtyard. So Elbaz's 18-month-old daughter, like all other children, stayed home, with only her mother to admire her ladybird outfit. How sad. A holder of a green pass here trains at a gym in the Israeli coastal city of Tel Aviv. Man, she looks older, doesn't she? But God damn, she looks good. Woo! Keep working, girl. Enjoy that gym. Isn't it great? Now look at this. Hundreds of ultra-Orthodox Jews flout COVID rules. I'm not going to play the video. You can check it out. Look at this fool dancing around right here. Dancing around in some kind of leopard outfit. You got some others dressed up as well. So, hey, they're having a good time. I love seeing that. But these are individuals who didn't get the shot, and they're saying, you know what? Forget that. It's a stark example of how the new CV certificate, introduced on February 21, is changing Israel. Anyone above the age of 16, the minimum age at which you can be given the vaccine, can download the government-issued certificate to their phone if they have been inoculated against COVID or have recovered from the virus. The certificate features a QR code that, once scanned, checks Israeli health records to confirm that the holder has received both doses of the vaccine. And we'll see if they go with the booster shot, the third shot. We'll see if that's another layer. It can also be printed out on paper, allowing the smartphone adverse, ultra-Orthodox community to also benefit from the scheme. The government sees the system as having a key role to play in opening up society following the success of its world-beating vaccination program, which has seen public clinics give at least 1 dose to half the population. Latest data indicates that the vaccine is proving to be 94% effective, which were numbers that we heard before was Moderna and Pfizer were both in the 94 to 95% range. And The first time in months, Israelis have flocked to gyms and swimming pools last week, with access legally restricted to those who could present a green pass at the door. Here you go. Check him out. Nice. Oh, we got more partiers. They violated the COVID restrictions. The system will also be introduced at cafes, bars, and restaurants, as they are allowed to open over the coming weeks. Opening these places is a big deal, as recreational activities like eating out are a huge part of our culture, and we're all excited, said Joseph Gittler, chairman of Laket Israel, a national food bank. He added, "We've been seeing chefs and other furloughed restaurant staff turning up at our soup kitchens for meals, and the chance to kickstart our huge hospitality sector will do wonders in reducing poverty." They chose to close those businesses down to begin with, so I don't really want to hear about it. I get what they're doing. I guess I get when people are so fearful that they'll do anything and can be easily controlled and trained. Here are the individuals with their green passports. Look at us, we're special. Looks like they put on a concert here for senior citizens who had the passport. If you don't have one, too bad. Maybe you can stand about a mile away and hope to catch some of that music. 99.98% recovery rate for people in my age group, but it's amazing. I've said what I have to say about all of it. Some of you may feel a little differently. Some of you may be fine with the passports. Let's check out some comments. I just wonder if this is something that is going to come here eventually in terms of, hey, you can't travel, and especially with kind of a more authoritarian leadership taking control since January, and individuals on that side of the aisle preferring to be controlled by government and preferring to be under the boot, that it makes you wonder if they will push for this. Oh, look what Israel's doing. Will we do it here? As I said, it's just a matter of, well, if we allow them to do this to us, will we actually get back to normal life? If we allow ourselves to be bent over, will they let us get back to how things were before this flu came along? Apparently the jab can give numerous other health benefits as well. That's how much effect it has within your system. I wonder whether it's safe long term. Interesting. Is that true? Does anybody know about other health benefits? As I said, I haven't gotten it. Obviously, I'm not special like that, and I don't really plan on getting it. It'd be interesting to see if they try to force people in terms of the same things, like, hey, say 5-6 months from now, oh, you have to get this to fly on an airplane. That's one thing I can think about. Or to go on a cruise ship, somewhere where you'd be packed in tight with other individuals. I can't see it so much at grocery stores and restaurants. I'd like to think we do have some liberties and freedoms here, but places like airlines, sports arenas, concerts, and as I said, cruise ships, trains, stuff like that, I could see the authoritarians being on board with something like that. Fingers crossed, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we don't go down this route. 99.98. Nothing free about having an autoimmune disease. Long time. I will have mine. Numpties can stay home in lockdown. Who cares if you are tracked by your phone, your credit card, the local parking machine, traffic cameras, etc.? What are you scared of? You're missing the point. It's not about being tracked. People are being coerced and blackmailed into a vaccine, which is a little worrying. And that's a great point. When I was reading through this, I was, obviously you could tell how I feel about it, but it is coercion. To participate in society, to do any of the things you think are fun, and actually add movie theaters to the list I was talking about earlier, just popped in my mind, but to do the things that you think are fun, to go out and have a social life, they're really twisting your arm behind your back and saying, you need to have this green passport. This was the plan all along. And this gentleman here from Iran, and that's true. You heard people talking about this all across platforms, YouTube, BitChute, Brighteon, wherever you watch your videos. People were talking about this. They were saying it's going to come here to the US, and kind of theorizing. And we see it there. And we'll see how long it takes to spread elsewhere. They want you to have the magic vaccine so bad, they need to run advertising campaigns at taxpayers' cost. So you can still get the COVID after having this super vaccine. If your immune system can't fight it and the survival rate is 99, so add a 0.99 onto that, I ask myself a question. Why do I need it if the vaccine doesn't stop you from having it or transmitting it? They want to make it mandatory so that pharma companies can make profit on a yearly basis. Exactly. When somebody says it's garbage, I see it like this, and I've talked about this before, is now that it's here, and now that they've beaten people and got them so whipped into this, Will it be a situation where they tell me, okay, every year with the normal flu shot that's out there, now there's a COVID shot as well. Every year, flu shot and COVID shot, or will they eventually combine it into one? But there have been a lot of different businesses and agencies who have benefited from this. Now, I'm obviously not saying that people haven't died of it, because obviously the numbers are what they are. So I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going that far. Some of you may disagree, and I know you're out there on BitChute. You're like, F this guy. I hear you guys. Trust me. I love your comments. Keep them coming. But I see for myself who's benefiting from this. Certain companies, and these companies all seem to be putting money in the pockets of politicians. That's all I'm going to say about that. We'll leave it ambiguous and we'll leave it right there. COVID passport, green over there. What color will ours be? Let's say we'll make it black and white, just so we, don't have anybody claiming that it's racist, the passport itself. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care, and hopefully you guys have a good week.